Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. For those who were just watching our prior live stream, welcome. We have a big update to report. There have been 12 jurors who have now been selected. We have actually selected the jury in the Manhattan District Attorney criminal trial against Donald Trump. It moved very, very quickly when I had started the live recap with Karen Friedman Agniflos, the former number 2 at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. We had 7 sworn-in jurors, and then as we creeped up at the end, we ended up having 5 get sworn in right away. And it was a day where 2 prospective jurors were actually lost because juror number 2 felt that she could no longer be fair and impartial after her identity was basically made public through Jesse Waters on Fox and a repost by Donald Trump, the identifying information about her job, where she lived, her educational background, and Jesse Waters talking about how I don't think she can be fair, even though she was clearly a fair and impartial juror. That made it public. She felt intimidated. She had to leave the jury. Then there was another juror number 4. Again, these are sworn in jurors, people who had already been sworn in after day 2. Juror number 4 didn't check the box in the questionnaire that he had previously been arrested in the 1990s, and failing to do that allowed him to be disqualified and removed for cause. So we dropped from 7 sworn-in jurors to 5 sworn-in jurors. And then the process went very slow today. Then Trump's team went through all of their peremptory challenges. They went through each and every one of them. And once they gave up their peremptories and having utilized them all, it went very quick. And we got our 12 jurors. We can confirm that right now live. It's being reported across the board. So, Michael Cohen, I know you're a witness in this case, and everybody here is going to respect, of course, that there are things you can talk about and there are things that you can talk about. And look, where there are things that you can't talk about, I may talk about certain topics and things. And, just so our viewers know, you don't have to respond to those. You don't have to acknowledge those. And I certainly understand that there's a separation there, given that you and I sit in different seats, here with respect to my coverage and then your involvement. And first and foremost, we want to be very respectful to this process. So let me just pause right there with all of the news thus far. Again, a jury has been picked. 12 jurors have been sworn in. Now we move on to the alternates. Michael Cohen, what can you share about your reaction to the swiftness with which this jury was selected? Perhaps the juror who left because of what went down, Donald Trump's whining about the jury. Remember in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case, Donald Trump said, I need a jury, I need a jury, I need a jury. This is unfair. And then he got a jury, and now he's saying, the jury's unfair, the jury's unfair, the jury's unfair. Michael Cohen, talk to us.
Oh, God. First of all, this is really a testament to Judge Merchan and the manner to which he conducts his courtroom. We all know that Donald's intent was to slow this down. I don't say this from any personal knowledge other than what Donald himself said just the other day on television, that he wants to slow this down. I had heard that he was angry at Todd Blanche because this impaneling of the jury had or was taking a sort of like a supercharged method to it. Now, after 3 days, because remember, Judge Merchan does not hold trial, does not hold court on Wednesdays. So you had Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday to now have seated the 12 jurors that will be the deciders of fact as this trial moves forward. They have 6 alternates that need to also be impaneled, and that most probably will take place today. I stand corrected. Many of you had heard me say over the course of the past, say, 2 weeks since this case really started, that I thought it would take approximately 3 weeks to seat a jury. The fact that he was successful, and I'm talking about Judge Merchan, in getting this done week 1, like I said before, it's a testament to him and the manner to which he runs his courtroom. I will tell you something that I am very concerned about. By the way, I also had heard that there was a juror who somehow had spent time with Susan Necheles, who is the one of the attorneys for Trump. There's Todd Blanche and then Susan Necheles. That one of the jurors didn't acknowledge or didn't notify the court that this juror had spent some time over the course of a weekend or something with Susan Necheles in her home. How do you not state something like that? I don't know. Somebody had called me and asked me if I knew anything about it. I'm like, the fuck do I know about it? I don't know anything. I'm really trying not to watch the news at all, especially as it relates to this. Again, they call it the hush money trial, so I'll call it that. But my goal is I like to watch it for for the other news that's going on in the world. For example, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas. I mean, there's other stuff going on here other than this specific case. I will tell you something that is very concerning to me and very stressful. When Donald Trump, as you may know, on Tuesday, he is due to appear prior to the trial taking place. There's a motion that was put forth by the prosecutors regarding the gag order, regarding the violation by Trump of the gag order. And as of right now, according to the prosecutors, Donald violated this gag order since it was put into place 7 times. And I bring this up because there's a lot of conversation that takes place about Trump's behavior. We saw it in the New York Attorney General case. We're seeing it obviously in this case as well. Allegedly, he had done something to Ben. You could talk more about it. He was making gestures or something to a potential juror, which kind of freaked everybody out. Merchan jumped all over it and warned him that that sort of behavior is not going to be tolerated. There's a lot of conversation that takes place about Donald's behavior, Donald's targeting, witness intimidation, obstruction of justice as it relates to this case, to the judge's daughter, to law clerks, to witnesses, and so on. But they really don't include witnesses in this. They bring it up, but I have yet to hear really anyone, maybe other than, for example, Nicole Wallace and Rachel Maddow, talk about what Donald is doing. And I want to tell you, since the 7 posts have been put out, the amount of hate mail, the attacks on me personally, I can't imagine what's happening to others. I guess we would have to ask people like, let's see, we can't be hypocrites when it comes to the First Amendment. Outrageous that Cohen and Daniels can do countless TV interviews, post on social, and make money on bogus documentaries, all by talking shit about Trump, but he's gagged and threatened with jail if he responds. Now, let me just say this. First of all, it's coming from Avenatti or somebody posting on, that idiot's behalf. But let me explain to Avenatti, the legal beagle that he thinks he is. Witnesses are not defendants in this case. That's first and foremost. I am trying to, let's see, here we got here. They're catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury, Jesse Waters. I mean, that's not even the one that that the prosecutors were talking about in terms of the gag order. It's again calling me the convicted perjurer and liar, and and basically the whole slew of Trump Trump verbiage. That then triggers his MAGA supporters and the attacks that come against myself. And clearly, if it's coming against me, it's got to be coming to other known witnesses like Stormy Daniels, which I don't know because I haven't spoken to her in quite some time. And when I say quite some time, about months, like many months. It's not fair. It's really, truly unfair. And I hope that on Tuesday that it's more than just sanctions, financial sanctions. It's like, I think it's what, $1,000 per violation. Oh my God, you're going to hit Trump with a $7,000 violation. He'll just go ahead. He'll send something out, a post to all of his MAGA supporters. He'll get the $7,000 in about 3 minutes. That's not going to stop him. There's really only one way to stop him from doing this. And you have to walk him downstairs, and you have to show him what the tombs look like underneath the courthouse, in the sub basement. And you got to show him what it looks like. Then put him in there and close the door and walk away. And then come back a minute or two later and say, that's what it feels like to be in that cell. Open your mouth again, repost, redo this, and you're going to spend the night there. You got to do something to stop him. It's not fair to witnesses. Just because they subpoena you, Ben, yes, I have to appear. I need to provide the testimony that the prosecutors want, or I should say that, the truth, right? I need to provide that information, the information that I know, to the court, to the jury, so that they can make a determination. But what he's doing, blowing this dog whistle, Ben, he's igniting this sort of MAGA right-wing, group. When is it going to be enough? When somebody gets hurt? Just because you subpoena me, why does my life have to be threatened on a second? It's like a daily basis, multiple times. Why does my life need to be in jeopardy because they subpoenaed me? I'd rather have to go before the court, as they say, better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. These fucking people are out of their mind. He's blowing this dog whistle. He's igniting them. He knows exactly what he's doing. And Goron let him get away with it, which, again, and Goron runs a different court. He runs a different type of a court. I truly hope that something is done, because this has to stop.
Cohen, there is the 7 violations that potential violations of the gag order. That's been over the past 2 days. So there were 7 new violations of the gag order that have now been added to the contempt motion that's pending, set to be heard on April 24th. And I just want to share with you the anatomy of Donald Trump's intimidation.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? Literally, as I'm sitting here and talking to our brigaders, literally, a guy by the name of Rob Mal writes, I'm sorry, it's not. It was somebody by the name of Gina Washington. Waiting for the word to start the worst civil war you've ever seen, if you live through it. You better vote Trump and get this old fool out from behind that desk, because he's being told what to do by. And then it goes on and it just stops. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. I get these, Ben, all the time. It just doesn't stop. It's one after the other after the other.
For those just joining right now, 12 jurors have now been selected. We move on to the alternates.
One alternate was just decided too, 1 second ago.
One alternate being selected. So we then just have a few more to go. We have our daily recap scorecard that we've been keeping track of everything that's been happening in day 1, day 2, and day 3. Do we have our scorecard for day 3? Here's what went down today. The jurors arrived early in the morning. Juror number 2 was excused. Juror number 2 felt intimidated. More on that in a moment. There were 7 new potential Trump gag order violations added to the contempt motion set to be heard next week. Juror number 4 was excused for not disclosing he was previously arrested in the 1990s. 96 new jurors, prospective jurors, showed up. One of the interesting things was that Donald Trump doesn't stand for them. Normally, when the jurors arrive, you would expect all of the parties to stand and show respect for the jury. A lot of the jurors reflected that they don't like Donald Trump, and the one that we just added to that scorecard as well is that 12 jurors selected, and now 1 alternate. We'll be adding that to this scorecard as well, that 12 jurors were selected. I want to talk about the anatomy of Trump's intimidation right here. And to do that, we can show you the statement that Donald Trump made about prospective jurors, which he's not allowed to do, but nonetheless, he did it anyway. And let me share with you how it's amplified by Donald Trump's very dangerous propaganda machine, North Korea, Russian, Saddam Hussein style, if you will. Here's what Trump shared on his social media. He said, quote, "They are catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury." And that's quoting Jesse Waters from Fox, right-wing host. And let me share with you what it was that Donald Trump was amplifying and posting. This is what Jesse Waters had to say about juror number 2. Juror number 2 is no longer on the jury. She was sworn in and then felt intimidated and said she can no longer be fair and impartial. But let me share with you what Jesse Waters said on Tuesday night that led to her leaving. Play this clip.
Number 2, a nurse from the Upper East Side with a master's degree. She's not married, has no kids, and lives with her fiance who works in finance. She gets her news from the New York Times, Google, and CNN. She said 2 things that really stuck out. 1, quote, "I don't really have an opinion of Trump," and, quote, "No one is above the law." I'm not so sure about juror number 2.
You know, to see Jesse Waters like that, just what a clown he is. What a troll he is. I don't really know about juror number 2. Juror number 2 said everything that you would want juror number 2 on the jury, regardless of which side you're on. I could be fair and impartial. I haven't formed any opinion about Donald Trump one way or another, yet she was attacked. I'm not going to show some of this other stuff that's out there right now about one of Trump's closest allies, someone named Laura Loomer. And I don't want to share it because she's out there harassing and intimidating jurors that she doesn't like, but she's giving the names of jurors and she's posting them. And she's the lady who attacked Justice Merchan's daughter, and then she was hanging out with Trump recently at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump was
Have you seen the attacks that she makes on me on a daily basis on Twitter? She has no shame. And the worst thing is what she does is she attacks on misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. But she's got a real following. She has that Fox News following, MAGA moron, 3 teeth, 4 brain cell idiots. And they just regurgitate her stupidity over and over and over again, including that whole horse shit about me having the affair with Stormy Daniels and using that in a way with Stormy to extort Trump and the Trump Corporation. She's really some piece of shit. She's a piece of work.
Let me share with you, just so you see, you know, what else Jesse Waters, the types of things that he's been saying as well. This is from a segment from last week where Jesse Waters says, this was the Trump eclipse, they called it. Here, let's play this clip of Waters.
More than scream, because just like they thought the moon would never leave, they say Trump's going to stay for life.
You hear about Trump saying he's going to be a dictator for a day, which is not going to be for a day if it happens. No. Could be for the rest of our lifetimes and our children's and more.
Just like what happens after every eclipse, everybody knows Trump's going to leave office just like he did the last time.
Just like he did the last time, what referring to the January 6th insurrection. And that's what I mean, Cohen. It's like, Waters knows what he's doing. Sure. And he does it with a smirk. He detests his audience. He does it with the same con man style that Donald Trump has perfected. And he knows exactly what he's selling to the people watching him. And here's where
doing, Ben. You know exactly what he's doing? He's playing to a party of one, most probably because he wants to be comms director in the new administration of Trump, or maybe an ambassador or some other high-level position. Because remember, what is it that Trump demands now, if he wins, from everybody that comes to Washington to work in the new administration? He wants a loyalty pledge. Jesse would be like, oh, here's my pen. Where do I sign? Where do I sign down? You want me to sign in blood? I'll sign in blood. Where do you want me to prick my finger, use the blood from my nose? Whatever. Just tell me where to sign. I'm in. That's Jesse Waters. He's playing right now to a party of one. And he is, as well as others, a danger. He continues to be what Donald wants people like him to be. And that's a danger to democracy.
I actually think that Jesse Waters, I don't think he wants to be in the administration. I think Jesse Waters just wants more money. And the reward structure at Fox is you behave this way, you get the access from Donald Trump, you get the MAGA audience, you want to out MAGA Hannity. And if Jesse Waters says, look, if I could basically be like Tucker, but Tucker went a little bit too close to the sun for Rupert Murdoch's taste and got him in trouble with some of the defamation lawsuits. But let me just be Trump's number one cheerleader. That's how I'm going to make all of this money. And look at the reward structure. Jesse Waters, from a financial standpoint, is making more money than he's ever made, in his life. The right-wing MAGA audience eats this stuff up. And, if you look at Jesse Waters' even presentation, like how he does it, it's really indistinguishable from the type of hosts you see, like in Russia, who are basically like Putin's handpicked, puppets. Here, Jesse Waters, defends Donald Trump selling sticky Bibles for $59.99. Let's play this clip.
Trump's a salesman. Is the media saying there should be less Bibles in America? It's probably the best thing Trump's ever sold. I'll accept Trump wine, which is divine. Now, the left's livid because they know Trump
wine, which is divine. And look, of course, we need to have presidential candidates selling Bibles for $59.99. He's a great salesman. What is he supposed? Of course, he's going to sell these Bibles to everybody. It's a very normal behavior that we expect.
Ben, let me say this. If he wants to sell Bibles, sell Bibles. If you want to sell wine, sell wine. If you want to sell, Trump steaks, Trump mortgage, Trump Trump vodka, all of these, of course, failed and filed for bankruptcy. But if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. Nobody gives a crap. Number one, he didn't write the Bible. Let's be clear about that. This is not by the way, he didn't write the Art of the Deal either, but we'll put that all aside for a quick second. You know where I have a problem, Ben, with his Bible salesmanship? I have a problem with the fact that in that Bible, you have the U.S. Constitution, you have the Bill of Rights, or whatever else he put in the back of that. There is a clear and distinct separation between church and state. There have been more Bibles printed than any other book in the history of the world. The history of the world, there have been more Bibles printed. Up until right now, with the Trumpy Bible, there has never been anything included other, than the words of the New Testament. Nothing. This now adds a whole new dimension of Trumpism, of insanity, where you're putting the Constitution in the back of the Bible? Why don't you just add Mein Kampf while you're at it? I mean, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Why would anybody want a Bible that has the Constitution? How do they mesh up? In fact, it completely violates the whole concept of the separation of church and state. So I just don't get it.
I want to also share with you the anatomy of some of this Trump propaganda and some of the Trump stunts that he was pulling. One of their strategies was they wanted to try to pull certain jurors from Harlem, and then they wanted to set up this event like they did last week in Georgia at Chick-fil-A to try to show that Donald Trump has minority support in Harlem. So last week, we broke this news on the Midas Touch Network that this viral moment that the legacy media reposted, and that Trump and the right-wing media had a field day with, that Trump goes to this Chick-fil-A, and then an African-American woman goes to Trump and gives him a hug and says, "We love you, Trump. Don't listen to what anyone has to say. We all support you." And then Donald Trump reposted that. And then we learned that she's a Republican consultant. She previously worked for Charlie Kirk at Turning Points USA. And Charlie Kirk is the one who's against MLK and MLK Day and thinks that there shouldn't be black pilots. She's worked for Candace Owens. And this was something that was set up and prearranged the way Saddam Hussein would do it, the way Gaddafi would do it, the way Kim Jong-un does it, to have this moment, right? You think back a few months ago before that in Michigan, where Donald Trump shows up to a non-union shop, gives people who are not union workers signs that say union workers for Trump, people who aren't even working in that area, and they hold up their signs. They pretend to be union workers, and Donald Trump performs like he's speaking to union workers at a union shop and ended up paying the non-union shop $25,000 or $15,000 to pretend it was a union-sponsored event, right? And now he did this on Tuesday where he says, "I'm going to a bodega." I doubt Donald Trump even knows what a bodega is. And so he goes to Harlem, and then there's a crowd there that's chanting, "We love you. We're with you every step of the way." And the media is like, "Whoa, in Harlem, Donald Trump's got this type of support in Harlem." Look at the Politico headline, smiling his ass off, how Trump used the New York bodega visit to return to form. It's like the Politico goes, "How can we just spread your propaganda?" And what it actually turns out were these were the New York Young Republican Club. This was the same group that Donald Trump spoke to in December, where he bragged about sexual assault to the New York Young Republicans. They set the event up. They then went in the crowd. So you can look at the photos of them like before the event, and then you see them interspersed, or as Donald Trump likes to say, interposed in the crowd. And they're the ones chanting for him over and over and over again. And the media just eats it up. And it's like, can someone do a modicum of investigatory work and say, this is the scam he pulls all of the time? He did that with Ruby Garcia recently in Michigan. He lied and said he spoke to the family of a young woman.
What about the black guys that are always over, or the black women that are always camera right or camera left over his shoulder that say blacks for Trump? They're all hired actors. But Ben, you're a real nasty guy, because I know what a bodega is. I remember seeing her in the movie 10. You remember bodega, the one when she was running on the beach? I know what a bodega is. That's how stupid this guy is.
Well, and I just think it's important that the media actually do its function, right? Like if we can look at a photograph and say, you know what? Those New York Young Republicans in that photo are the same people who are right there, and then show that. Like, here's the thing though, too, Cohen. If once you're armed with those facts, right, and you say, okay, Donald Trump went to a non-union shop and pretended it was a union shop, or Donald Trump went to a Chick-fil-A and they had a Republican consultant pretend to set up this fake encounter to make it look like African Americans support Donald Trump, or he set this up in Harlem. If you are empowered with those facts and you said, okay, you know what? I like that. I'm into that. Like, that's what I appreciate that. I am into propaganda. At least you're being honest in the discussion. Like, at least we're operating from a position of, here are the actual facts, and what you actually want is a wannabe strong man, someone who will be obsequious to Putin. You want to harm Ukraine. We'll talk about that in a little bit, because you don't like democracy. You like this bizarre wannabe fascism. That's what you want. Then we can have an honest discussion. But enough of the gaslighting, enough of this crap. Anyway, Michael Cohen, you and I still have a lot to discuss. The MAGA Republicans want to oust MAGA Mike Johnson. He's no longer MAGA enough because he's introducing legislation finally to provide some funding to Ukraine to defend.
The man who's turned around, Ben, and said that he wants to see America return to a white Christian nationalist country is not MAGA enough. That's the head scratcher of the day.
Important scheduling note, Cohen, that we should address right now, and we'll address it at the end. You and I were originally going to do a Patreon Zoom at the end of today. Of course, our audience understands and certainly respects that, given your schedule relating to the fact that you're a witness in this trial, you've got a lot of obligations and you got to be in a lot of places.
I do have something that has popped up, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it back in time to do it. And there's a lot that's right now going on, as all our brigaders know. And so I am going to commit, if you can, Ben, to Tuesday, maybe right after. So you and I will talk about it, and we'll discuss it on Tuesday with all of our brigaders at the next show. But as things are now obviously moving much quicker than expected, right? As I said earlier in the show, I truly thought that this was going to be a 3-week process to seat the jury for the voir dire. The answer is that's not where it's happening. So Tuesday it is. And I apologize to anybody that canceled plans to be with us, but Tuesday.
Well, I will, of course, be there. Patreon.com/political beatdown. That's, one of the things that, as we're living this experience together, Beatdown Brigaders, it's a rare situation where you'll have even these live shows like this. And that's why, we're being very careful in the scheduling, and we want to be very respectful of the process that's taking place. And so this is going to happen from time to time. Let's take our first and last quick break of the show, but you and I have a lot to discuss there, Michael Cohen. Let's take our quick break.
Field of Greens is the healthiest thing I do every day, and I want you on this journey with me. It's literally 1 scoop a day, and it tastes great. I personally like the wild berry flavor, and in fact, I also like the strawberry lemonade, and it's completely improved my life. This is nutrition the way nature intended. Field of Greens personally gives me way more energy to get through my day. And I've also noticed that my skin and my hair are way healthier too. Ever since drinking Field of Greens, my stomach feels way better. It's helped with my digestion, and I just feel better and healthier overall. Field of Dreams is radically different. Each and every organic fruit and vegetable was medically chosen to support heart and vital organ health. I trust Field of Greens to keep me healthy. And I promise you're going to love this product. But if for any reason you don't, they'll give you 100% of your money back. That's the guarantee. 100% money back guarantee. You can't go wrong. I got you 15% off your first order plus free rush shipping. So visit fieldofgreens.com and use promo code BEAT. That's promo code BEAT at fieldofgreens.com. Fieldofgreens.com. Go there now.
There we go.
Go there now. You got to go then. By the way, it's very good. That strawberry lemonade, I tried it yesterday. Really good. I still like the wild berry the best, but the strawberry lemonade is actually pretty tasty. So thank you to them for sponsoring this show.
Michael Cohen, I want to talk about what's been taking place on Capitol Hill here, because one of the things that you and I discuss over and over and over again is just the importance of good governance, like the importance of just getting things done, the importance of, reaching compromises, dealing with difficult issues, and frankly, behaving like adults. One of the things that's interesting about our title, Political Beatdown, is that it's a play on words in a lot of ways, but it's really a beatdown on politics itself, because I don't really view this or the network as that political. I view it as kind of common sense. I care about law and order. I care about normalcy. I care about democracy. I care about empathy. I care about leading with love. And I realize that we have to reach compromises and negotiate and try to reach difficult deals. It's why, by the way, when it came to the bipartisan immigration deal, there may be a lot of things in there that I don't fully agree with or love. It was negotiated by a hard right winger, right? Senator Langford from Oklahoma, who basically got the wish list of all of the things that he had ever wanted. And he was like the guy on this issue. He was the right-wing immigration guy. And President Biden said, look, it's unfair that y'all are holding up Ukraine aid because of this. But you know what? I'll give you your wish list. Let's make sure that we do this in a humane way, that we don't, treat, immigrants are human beings, even if they're not here legally. We need to treat people with basic dignity, and all people should have rights and should be treated with respect. This is human beings, damn it, we're talking about, not just some illegal aliens. These are people. People need to be treated with decency and respect, but have your wish list, right wing. Take it, everything you want. But you got to give me Ukraine. This is critical. And I will agree to do that negotiation if that's how you want to position it. And then what does Donald Trump do? Donald Trump blocks both. He makes his MAGAs in the House and Senate kill the immigration bill and then not fund Ukraine. And that's so nihilistic. And if you think about, Cohen, what conservatism is supposed to be, about conserving institutions, this is nihilistic. This is destruction. This is what Steve Bannon called for. Rip up to shreds our system. And that's, to me, where you and I are saying enough is enough here. And we've always been saying it. Let me toss it to you and get your reaction.
What I wanted to say is, as we're sitting there and everybody is concerned about Russia's assault on Ukraine, because the bulk of people who have an understanding for politics and understanding of Russia acknowledge that after Ukraine, that Putin will continue and go into Poland. And this, of course, creates, at this very moment, it creates a problem simply because Poland is a NATO country. But one thing we also know, Donald said, if he wins, the first thing he's doing is America is going to pull out of NATO, because we pay too much. The democracy, that is too much for him. I'll tell you the part that really confused me, and you may have seen this yourself, Ben. The other day, the president of Putin was at Trump Tower. He came to visit on Wednesday, the day that Trump did not have court. President Duda was at Trump Tower. So what is Donald doing? Is he running some sort of a shadow government? What is Duda doing at Trump Tower? And if I was President Biden, I'd be pissed. I'd be beyond pissed. We're sitting here right now worrying about what we're going to do in the event that Russia ends up taking Ukraine and deciding to continue to march into Poland. And you're sitting there and you're spending time, instead of coming to DC so that we can spend time figuring this out, you're hanging out with a guy who's the former president. I'm so confused, not just about America. I'm confused about the level of stupidity by so many of the world leaders, from Netanyahu now to Duda. It makes absolutely no sense at all.
Well, what they're trying to do, and this is because of Donald Trump's stranglehold over the entire Republican Party, which has gone full MAGA, is that I mean, look, for them, Cohen, in Poland, as you know, this is life or death. Like, this is truly like, and not like in some abstract way, right? This is like, if this aid doesn't get there, we are going to die. Like, our daughters and sons are going to get killed. So I think what Trump is making someone like a Duda do, and this is unprecedented in our history, is someone like a Duda knows that if you play to Donald Trump's ego, that's the way for him to basically tell a MAGA Mike or whoever, look, they said nice things about me, so I'm okay if you do this. So what they have to do is, because MAGA Mike and the Republicans are refusing to provide aid to Ukraine because Donald Trump is blocking it, their house is quite literally on fire. And so I'm a little conflicted and torn what I would do if I was the president of Poland and I knew that my sons and daughters and family could just be killed. Do I take a walk? I'm just being serious. Do I take a walk of shame and basically do anything I can to beg these Republicans, please release the aid, like, please, or do I just say F it, and I'm not going to, aid and abet, what's going on in American politics? I think I need to reflect on that perspective, being right at the border of Ukraine and seeing the death and destruction there. But here's the thing. This has never occurred in our history before. You didn't have Obama undermining Donald Trump's policies. You didn't have George W. Bush undermining Obama, right? You didn't have Bill Clinton undermining, or George H.W. Bush undermining Clinton because George H.W. Bush served one term. That's not the way it went down ever in our country. And what's happening now is not normal. And yes, Cohen, everything is projection and confession with MAGA. So when they talk about deep state and shadow government and all of these things, that's what Trump is running, quite literally.
I understand that. What I cannot wrap my hands around is the fact that Duda, the president of Poland, shows up to Trump Tower. You're talking about a president of a country shows up to Trump Tower to kiss the ring of a guy who chances are is not even going to win. We already know that Trump despises Zelensky. He hates Zelensky and Ukraine because they did not do what he wanted, and that is to create a fake narrative about Hunter and Joe Biden, and that they did not bring their attorney general forth in order to bring an investigation, which, of course, Donald wanted. So he hates Zelensky. He has no care or concern for Ukraine or the Ukrainian people. Let's just call it for what it is. If, in fact, that the United States and our allies do not get together and provide munitions for Ukraine, they will fall, plain and simple. We also know that Putin is a bully. Putin's goal is not just to take Ukraine, but he wants to attempt to recreate the former Soviet Union. That, of course, includes Poland. All right? Plain and simple. He will then, after Ukraine, go into Poland. Now, if I was Joe Biden, I would be having a conversation with the guy and explaining to him, this is I understand your country's politics. I'm not interested in it. In America, there's only one president, and that happens to be me. So if you want to go hang out with the former guy, that's great. Just don't call my office seeking help or assistance during my administration. And as far as NATO is concerned, I'm going to advise NATO of exactly what you're doing. You are undermining my power as the president of the United States, the current president of the United States. You, President Duda, are, through your actions, undermining my power and my abilities. All right. And if that's going to be the case, let's just call it quits. Maybe Donald will ask some of his MAGA supporters to chip in some money and help you out when the shit hits the fan. Because Duda is, as I just said, he is undermining President Biden's abilities as the president within which to make certain statements or to do certain things or request Congress to do certain things. And I think it's stupid on Duda's behalf. And on top of that, I think it's improper, plain and simple.
You know, the unprecedented times we're in with a Republican Party capitulating to one man and a co-equal branch of government within the House of Representatives and the Senate, the MAGA Republicans saying, we don't care about our authority or power. We're going to cede it to someone selling Bibles for $59.99. We're going to give up our constitutional powers to someone who's selling these bizarre fake golden sneakers, which, by the way, have we even heard about those ever again since Donald Trump did that stunt in Philadelphia? And then the right-wing media was saying that
I haven't heard a single person who actually got them. I think they're still waiting.
Well, if
You know,
you look
Ben,
at
can I ask you one quick question? Because it goes on with what I had just said before. You know, there's something called FARA. There's a FARA violation, FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. I wonder whether or not under that act, what Donald Trump did with President Duda would constitute a FARA violation. I'm not so sure. And I think that's the reason why you don't see former presidents. Somebody has to let one of Trump's handlers, he's like an animal in the zoo. He needs a handler to turn around and to say to him, you can't do that. It's a violation of the FARA Act, depending upon what they talked about. And fuck it, go after him. Indict him for that too.
Setting aside FARA, there's something called the Logan Act, which is federal law 18 U.S.C. section 953, I believe, which criminalizes negotiation by unauthorized American citizens with foreign governments having any types of issues or disputes with the United States. So it's a clear Logan Act violation. But then again, you go through all the violations. I mean, look, Cohen, Donald Trump stole nuclear codes. Like, let me pause again. Donald Trump stole nuclear codes. And his argument is that because he put them in boxes and shipped them to Mar-a-Lago, that they are his personal property. Donald Trump stole war plans, claims they're his personal property. Donald Trump claims that he can order SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents. That's what Donald Trump is just saying in his filings. Forget I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. Forget that. He's beyond that. He's done worse than that already. He's stolen, we the people, our nuclear codes. And it's viewed as like, whoa, I mean, nuclear code, whatever. I mean, it's in Mar-a-Lago.
As president, he gave to Russia information that he obtained as president that dealt with, my understanding, that dealt with Israel. And, you know, I mean, this is not a guy who can be trusted with a secret. That he's already shown us. And the fact that he's out there right now with the president of one of our allies, I don't know. I have a real problem with it. And I'm concerned for America. I'm concerned for America's security and for America's democracy.
And Cohen, I mean, you remember the very first thing that Donald Trump did was he met with the foreign ministers, Kislyak and Lavrov, right? Like was the first that he brought them into the Oval Office. The first move he made, just think about, like, I don't have to like find the needle in the haystack, right? The first thing Trump did when he was in office is he invited the Russians. So yeah, when people go Russia, 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 maybe it's because you invited the Russian leaders to the Oval Office and gave them secrets and then said, you can do it. That happened. And then while he was on the campaign, said, Russia, if you're listening, help me. Help me, Russia. Hack into my opponent. And then your campaign advisor pled guilty in connection with the Russia investigation. And then you consistently want to help Russia. And again, Cohen, stealing our nuclear codes. The fact that that's not even, could you imagine if Obama stole nuclear codes?
Can you imagine the fact that there were, can you imagine the fact that there were agents' names that were identified in the documents that gave out, and some of those agents died by mysteriously? I mean, look, again, our brigaders. It's why I constantly say what you get here on the Midas Touch Network, you're not getting everywhere. That I can assure you. In fact, I'm not even sure where else you're getting this type of sort of information, because we're not bound. We're not bound by advertisers and playing to a specific audience. We have trolls right now commenting on me, on Ben, on the show, and so on. We don't care. What you're going to get from us here is the truth. You're going to get facts, and you make your own decisions on which person that you think is right for America. Do you want someone who has autocratic tendencies and desires, or do you want somebody who wants democracy to continue and flourish around the world? That's your choice. Do you want somebody that believes in a woman's right to choose her own reproductive decisions? Or do you want somebody who wants to control your reproductive rights, who think that women should be second-class citizens, shouldn't be allowed to vote, let alone drive? You make the call. And that's why I say, if like me, I got to go for the Joe Bidens of the world. I believe in democracy. I want to turn my country over when I'm no longer here, to my daughter, to my son, to my future generations, and all of our future generations. I want democracy to flourish, not just here in America, but around the world. That's what I'm looking for. And that's why I say, if you have not registered to vote, do it right now, right this second. And if anybody in your house, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, if they don't know how to do it, help them. Because my biggest concern, the only way that I see Donald Trump winning this election is apathy. And we cannot allow that to happen.
You know, when I began this journey into creating this media network, initially I thought, okay, I have to pick a team. And I looked down and I said, look, my views seem to be more like progressive and liberal, right? So I'm like, that's where I must be. But then I realized that the references to progressive and liberal versus conservative, it reflects that somehow MAGA is conservative when MAGA is not a conservative movement. I think that my views are complex, and I think I'm a complicated person, and I think more of my views are here on the progressive and liberal side, but that doesn't mean that I always agree with every single thing that's supposed to be what a Democrat believes in. And so what became clear to me is that there's actually far more at stake here than just which team are you a part of. And what it became clear is that what we're really talking about is it should be about pro-democracy, about normalcy. And I don't know if you've seen this one, Cohen, but Stephen Miller, Trump's, mouthpiece, he's been going around on right-wing media.
He's a speechwriter.
He's speechwriter, but he goes around and does right-wing media. And here, I think we have this clip of him. Let's just play this first one. Let's play it.
I also just say, since we're addressing the subject of style, the most stylish president and first lady in our lifetimes are Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Donald Trump's a style icon. He changed American fashion in The Apprentice. People spent the next 10 years trying to dress like Donald Trump. So if anybody deserves a puff piece on their sense of style, it's Donald Trump and the First Lady.
You know, and as someone who loves this country, Cohen, watching that is actually very painful. It's not even funny to me. It's painful to see that that is what the Republican Party has become, that should be what. That's why I'm like, that's not conservative. That's just weird. That's weird. That's not normal. Cohen.
Ben, he's talking about style. With all due respect to Stephen Miller, with his drippy shit coming from his head, you know, when he tried to spray on the hair. Donald wears the same blue suit, not the same one, but he's got several of them, like Richie Rich. It's like saying Richie Rich has style. It's the same exact look day in and day out. Oh my God. I mean, whoever thought of a blue suit with a white button down with a red tie? Wow. I've never seen that. I bet if I ask Salty, go back to 1960, right? And start showing, go back to 1950 and start showing some of the guys with the suits, right? You got the blue suit with a white shirt and a red or a pink tie. I mean, all of a sudden he's a trendsetter in blue suits. I mean, come on. It's so stupid. The fact that Donald has somebody like Stephen Miller, who is a racist, racist to the core. He's even, and despite the fact he's Jewish by birth, he's a self-loathing Jew. He's an anti-Semite himself. In fact, the whole Muslim ban was created by Steve Miller and Steve Bannon. I mean, these are the people that he's going to have go on television and talk for him. I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
You know, and meanwhile,
I'm so confused these days, Ben.
And then meanwhile, Stephen Miller's out there doing these types of ads where he's basically saying, if you're a white man and you feel discriminated against as a white man, hire me, even though he's not a lawyer, and we'll represent you. Here, play this clip.
If you or a loved one were denied a job, raise, promotion, or professional opportunity as a result of diversity quotas, equity mandates, affirmative action, or other racial preferences, we want to hear from you. Please call us at 1-877-AFL-5454 or go to AF.
Well, I'll let you give your two-finger salute, Cohen. Sometimes I make it too easy for you.
Yeah, well, you sure did. Stephen Miller, there's nobody who deserves it right now more than you with your fake bullshit, with your, you know, I would like to say that this is fake news, that Miller is just doing this for the money, right? It's the first time in his entire life that anyone's paying any attention. He's a very weird guy. I mean, it's very hard to sit at a table with him. I mean, he's very, very strange. I don't understand. This more than just the money. This is he finally feels like he belongs somewhere. I mean, it is like the Klan mentality. He believes that he is now part of something way, way bigger than him. So, Stephen Miller, on behalf of all of us here, fuck you, you fucking idiot. Wake up.
There you have it, folks. To remind everybody, we had 12 jurors selected in the criminal trial of Trump and one alternate selected. So we've almost completed that process. Here was our handy scorecard for Trump trial. Day 3, the jurors arrived. Juror number 2 was excused. She felt intimidated after statements that were made by right-wing media and Trump's repost. 7 new Trump violations were added to the district attorney's contempt motion. Juror number 4 was excused because he didn't disclose that he was arrested in the 1990s. 96 new jurors showed up. Donald Trump did not stand for them when they arrived. Lots of jurors reflected that they hated Donald Trump, but they said they could still be fair and impartial jurors despite not liking what he has to say or his policies. 12 jurors and one alternate were selected. That concludes Trump trial day 3. And I will not be doing our live Zoom Patreon tonight. Obviously, a lot of this is in flux because of Cohen's schedule, given that he's a witness in this case. And I want to remind everybody, we're going to do it on Tuesday, though. So make sure you're still subscribed, and we will make sure we're there.
And we're going to try to go even a little longer than what we normally do, because I want to make it up to our brigaders. Can I also then just turn around and say, please, if we've got a great audience with us growing every single time, Ben, that you and I do this political beatdown, our brigader community grows. So please, if you're not already subscribed to Mea Culpa, that's the one with the blue icon. It's the blue background icon right there on the Midas Touch Network podcast. All right, please go check it out. I have Glenn Kirshner is dropping tomorrow. It is an incredible 1 hour with Glenn. Plus, also my introductions are spot on, funny as shit, and scary as well. So if you have a chance, please do it right now. Subscribe, Mea Culpa, the one with the blue icon background.
And Cohen, I hope you're okay with me plugging this. I know it's something that you don't always feel good having to ask about, or me having to ask about, but I'm going to do it anyway, which is that, look, Cohen has to have lawyers defend him and represent him and help him prepare, and that costs money. We previously had our firewall fund that was important to help Cohen defeat Donald Trump when Trump sued him for $500 million. That would not have been possible without you. You all helped Cohen beat Donald Trump. Trump was scared of being deposed, terrified of being deposed, and then dismissed the case against Cohen. So that was initially for that. Now, of course, Cohen, you still have to pay these legal bills. This is, let me be very clear, this is different than Patreon. This fund right here, this firewallfund.com, goes directly 100% to Cohen's legal bills and legal fees, as he's currently.
It goes right to the lawyer.
Unlike Donald,
unlike Donald, I don't see it. Doesn't go to a PAC or any account other than the attorney's account. These bills rack up really quick, and I don't have to tell anybody that's been involved in litigation. It sucks.
There you have it, firewallfund.com. Check that out. Again, make sure you hit subscribe. Every morning, Karen Friedman Agnifilo and I do updates about the court case, and then we do one every afternoon. And then Cohen and I pick up, if it's a Tuesday and a Thursday, on the developments of court that day. But we do this every single day of the week. Let friends, family, coworkers, anybody you know about this network. Let's keep on growing this community. Knowledge is power, and it's important that we get this knowledge out there to protect and preserve our democracy. Thank you all for watching. Have a great shout out to the Beatdown Brigaders, and shout out to the Midas Mighty.